What's going on, guys? This is Armando. Welcome to my very first video. I will be reviewing the first impressions of this 2020 Kawasaki C125 Pro. Here we go. Clutch is really easy to work. Transmission really smooth. I don't want to tack this thing out, but here we go. So 2020 Kawasaki 125. It's tiny, man. I'm 6'2", about 230. My knees feel kind of, up here, but I'm comfortable. Feel good. This is a 125cc 4-speed manual. Top speeds maybe 60 miles an hour, if that. We're gonna test this little acceleration here real quick. That's all the way. Full throttle right there. 45, 50. Still got one more gear to go. It's not that bad. Not that bad. There goes again. That's full throttle right there. Hitting 50. Gonna get weird reactions here. So, a little bit about this bike. It makes about 8 horsepower or so. Not the greatest, but for the size, it's pretty good actually. I'm actually impressed on how good this bike rides and how smooth it is for what it is. Ended up getting this bike as this is my third bike. Came from an R1, also had an R6, and then went all the way down to a 125. Have a lot of plans for it. I have ordered a fender eliminator kit for it, and there are levers for it, some grips. What else did I get? I think that's it for now. I am looking to get in an exhaust at one point. I don't know. Eventually want to get a little stunt bike here, and hopefully I get some of my friends and family members to tag along and get a little group here. Another thing, I was between this, the 125, and a Honda Grom. So differences between those two is the height. This one's a little bit higher, about an inch and a half higher. Seat height. They're a little bit cheaper. I ended up getting this one roughly $3,400 out the door with everything. Brand new, 0 miles. I've put on a few miles already. Other than that, the gauge, I ended up liking that this one has a gear indicator, has an analog tack. It had a little bit higher top speed or acceleration because of the gearing. Did a lot of research on it. The suspension on this actually is a lot stiffer than you would think than compared to the Honda Grom. I actually sat on a Honda Grom, and it's very soft suspension. Me being 230 pounds, it wasn't ideal. So I ended up going with this one. A little bit better suspension, stiffer suspension. The acceleration, like I mentioned, and also this one ends up having an oil pump, oil squirter that prevents it from starving of oil at higher RPMs, or in my situation, I plan on stunting it like in wheelies. It ends up lubricating as compared to the Grom, where the Grom tends to starve of oil, which is why they blow up so easily. Other than that, I've never ridden a Grom. I just sat on one, and those were my impressions initially. Other than that, yeah, this is my 2020 Z125 Pro. Yeah, so my plans for this, like I mentioned, I want to make it a stunt bike. I eventually want to, you know, explore different areas of the city and different trails. It's lightweight enough to where you could trail this bike in light trails, and I'm not saying crazy dirt bike trails, but little things like that. I actually became a fan of these, or mini bikes as a whole, watching another YouTuber named by Fooligan, also Grummy Bear. Those are the two people that I've seen, and I'm like, man, those things look fun. I want to do that. And I haven't seen or met anyone that has been into these types of bikes in my area, which is the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. No forums or anything, and it's just, I want to be someone that starts that community in the Bay Area. I know there is a huge Grom community in San Francisco, which is very popular because it is a congested big city with no parking. These things are perfect for cities like that. I live more in the outskirts of the Bay Area, so cars is the primary source of commuting. But like I said, bought this as a toy. Let's see what I can get into as a toy and exploring around here. I'm pretty familiar with the area, so I want to explore what I haven't seen already in a car. But yeah, so far brakes feel good. I'm still in the braking period, so I can't go too crazy. Yeah, let's see what adventures I can get into today. Today I'm actually on my way to pick up my last parts that I've ordered for this thing, so stay tuned for those videos. There will be install videos on levers, on grips, on the fender eliminator. I'm thinking about getting flush mount LED blinkers, possibly an exhaust, and definitely gonna get a stunt cage here soon. So yeah, like I said, initially this thing it seems fun. It's not as slow, as groggy as I thought it would be initially. We'll see as it breaks in, if it gets more power, if it gets smoother, if it gets, you know, whatever the case may be. So speed limits here is 40. Let's see if I can get to 40. That's pretty quick there. So I don't plan on commuting or making long trips with this unless it gets to, like, I get a truck and I was able to transport it. But for the most part, it's going to be a city exploring bike. Possibly, like I said, small trails, things like that. So yeah, plan on seeing this around the Bay Area streets here. Getting weird reactions here by people staring at me. Probably never seen a bike this small on the road before. Funny story, the first day that I ended up getting this bike, I unloaded it off the truck and took it around the block here where I live, and I got approached by an older lady mentioning that, you know, my bike should not be on the road, my bike is not street legal. And I looked at her and laughed and I said, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, because as you can see, I showed her the license plate and she just looked at me funny. That guy's on a freaking moped there. That was me as a kid though. I was those little small mini bikes, motorized scooters. That was me. So I think, you know, that was me as a 13, 14-year-old kid. Now in my late 20s, still sticking with the mini bike option. Obviously this is street legal. This is more of a commuter bike. I mean, like I said, you won't be doing too many long trips or commuting in the freeway, because you could only hit about 60 if you're lucky, maybe 65. And it's not safe for the freeway, for one, and two, I don't think this is California legal on the freeway, because I think the minimum is 150 cc's. This being a 125, it's out of the question. So like I said, I knew what I was getting into buying this thing, and it was only going to be a toy. It's only going to be for learning how to do wheelies and how to do stunts, because for one, it is so cheap, it is so light, and there's so many accessories for this thing that it's kind of a no-brainer, you know. Like, it's a lot cheaper than getting a full-size bike, maybe like a 600 or a 1000 or even a 250. It's a lot cheaper. Like I said, it was about $3,400 out the door, and it's parts for it are cheap. I mean, you can probably find anything on the website for a few hundred dollars. Maybe if you go on eBay, you can spend even less than that. It's not expensive. And another thing why I got this as a toy is, besides the price and the parts being so cheap, the gas mileage. Looking on the forums and different things online, gets about 80 to 90 miles to the gallon. That is insanely cheap to operate. 80 to 90 miles to the gallon is almost unheard of when it comes to cars. It is unheard of. To have a fun toy and spend $5 to fill this thing up from empty. It is a 2-gallon tank, so that is extremely cheap to have fun in. So that's another reason why I got this. It's $3,500, a little under $3,500 full paid out the door, and then gas is super cheap. And then on top of gas being super cheap, it's this guy doesn't even have helmets on. It's insurance for this thing was about $30 a month. I ended up paying a little over $300 for the year, which is again extremely cheap, and it's a fun cheap toy, and that's why I got it. So like I said, stay tuned for more videos. So far it's been fun. I've been able to keep up with traffic just fine. People do look at me funny, thinking, you know, it's a toy, which it is, but it's a street legal toy, so I don't mind it. You'll probably end up seeing me film some videos of these reactions of people looking at me or yelling at me, thinking it's illegal or things like that. So yeah, I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit.